top right-hand corner, or now
we're live.
We're live.
Hi, and welcome to healthierlife.tv. I'll let my co-host say hello.
Hello, it's Leanne from Kansas.
So the question is, are your habits working for you or not? And I know, just to let you know, if you think I'm being a bit weird, I've just cut my hair. It's found a different route. Cut my head, look, and while shaving, because of being a baldy, you know, it looks horrible when you've got a bit of hair on it. And so if you see me dabbing my head, as you will quite regularly on this, then you'll know what it is. It's still coming out 20 minutes later. Worst place to cut, apart from here. Or the leg.
Exactly. I'll tell you if it's running down your face.
It will be, because I felt it. So anyway.
Yep.
Right. So let's get going. So habits are a mixture of good and bad. You know, we've all got good ones and we've all got bad ones, and a lot of mediocre ones in the middle. So sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're damaging. So habit formation is really regular, and it repeats itself until we change them. So, Leanne, what can you tell us about habits, your habits, really? I suppose don't go into too much detail.
Yeah, I won't. Well, one thing I like to just remind people: habits are things that we do without thought or effort. So a lot of times, you, as the person like myself, I may not even really realize that it's a habit that's working for or against me, because it's just so routine that you're not even thinking about doing it. And some of those. That's great when the habit is working for you, because you don't want to have to think about everything you're doing. But to recognize the habits that aren't working for you, then I encourage people that how I do it is I become like a little private investigator. I put my binoculars on and look at every detail of my life to see if I can identify those little pesky habits that are not taking me closer to my goal. They're actually creating more work and, get in the way of my success. So that's kind of my starting point, of just to realize that we do them without thought. And a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, just by asking them questions, they're like, oh yeah, I do that. And oh, that probably isn't very helpful for my weight loss goal. Or, usually I'm like, yeah. So now that you identified the habit that's not working for you, then you can do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm a creature. I mean, we're all creatures of habits. So, but when you identify those ones that aren't working, then that's when the real work really comes in. And if you're like, I'm 53, Paul's a little bit more mature than myself. So we've been doing these things for a really.
You mean I'm older?
Yeah, okay. He has a few more years on me. So most of us have been doing these things for a really, really, really long time. So that saying that it only takes 21 days, that may or may not be true. Because a lot of times you've found that, maybe even after a year, you started this new habit, it's working great. Then life throws you a curveball, like maybe what's happening in the world now throws you a curveball. And you find yourself just falling back into your old comfort zone of those old habits that didn't serve you. Because that rut, if you think of a dirt road that's had a lot of rain, that your old habit rut is really, really deep. The new rut of your new habit hasn't exceeded that depth of the other one yet. So don't beat yourself up when you find yourself falling back into those old habits. Just recognize that, isn't that interesting? So that's my take on it. And then I'll pass it back over to you, to you, Paul.
That was great. I mean, look, there are a lot of habits that are actually automatic, and if I know that sometimes we don't even think about habits because we just get on with things. But think about this. Think of a baby. A baby will walk, and when they get going, there's no stopping them.
Right.
Where they're this cuddly little thing, now they're a terror. They're into everything. And that's a habit to them. That's one of their first, I would think, don't know too much about babies.
Right.
Brought 3 into the world, but I was always working. but mostly it's automatic. I mean, if you take riding a bike, that first time you get on a bike is horrid.
Yeah.
I mean, you just think you're going to fall over flat on your face. But once you've learned to ride a bike, and you do biking, don't you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You just get on it. You don't think about it. And the other
Right.
one like that is obviously driving. And, when I did a 5-week driving course and failed, and I'm talking about every day, okay, because the police wanted to teach everyone. And I failed. And to be fair, I knew I was below standard at the end of 5 weeks. So they gave me another 5-week course, 10 weeks. Now,
Right.
within the first few days of the second course, something clicked.
Right.
Okay, the coordination all fell into place. And I went from someone who's below standard to very high standard in a very short space of time. Yeah. And obviously, when you get in the car, you say, I'm just going down to the gas station or the
Right.
petrol garage. And, basically what happens is you don't even think about it. You just get in the car and drive because it's automatic. So,
Right.
but it takes time to become automatic. And that's obviously another thing we need to talk about. So
Right.
how long does it take a person to form a habit? What's your take of that?
Well, it really depends on the habit itself. So, I think flossing your teeth, deciding that you want to floss your teeth because you're already brushing your teeth. So you can attach it to another habit that's already in place. So if you can figure out a way to attach the new habit to something that's already happening, it is much easier to accomplish. So taking the simple concept of deciding that you want to floss your teeth every morning right after you brush your teeth, that one probably could, with consistent effort, be done in 21 days. But as soon as you miss a day, it's almost like you have to start that
day one.
that cycle over again. So, but then you take the habit of say exercise, healthy eating. Say someone's on a weight loss journey. I get these calls all the time. They say, well, I've tried everything. And always my first response back to them is, well, you just didn't try it long enough. Right. So because when you have failure, your mind is just wired to naturally go back to your old habits. So again, I want you guys to give yourself enough grace to realize that, like Paul says, this takes a lot of time, but not give you an out to go, well, Leanne says, we're always going to fall back. Well, I want you to be aware of that and give yourself enough grace that some like healthy eating habits, I have been working on healthy eating habits my whole entire life, but there are still days where I screw up and my habits and my structure don't work for me because I allow myself to get too stressed out. So my personal opinion is it really depends on your commitment, your persistence, and your desire of how long it'll take that new habit to take place. And you have to be really creative. I'll give you an example real quick, Paul. My eye doctor have really bad dry eye, and they wanted me to take this omega vitamin every night or every morning, whichever. And for the life of me, I had it sitting in the bathroom and, going to bed. It's right there in front of everything that I do right before I go to bed. Couldn't seem to do it, could not seem to incorporate that habit. And this is what I do for a living, is coach people how to incorporate habits. So one night I was doing my private investigating of my life, okay, because my eyes were killing, like, how can I get myself on track with this habit? And I had this thought, like, this is going to sound kind of weird, but every night before I go to bed, I'm already thinking about my cup of coffee in the morning. I'm like already looking forward to the cup of coffee the night before. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not the only one in that boat. So I thought, so I moved my vitamins by the coffee pot. And that's all it took. So sometimes getting the habit to work is actually changing your environment or changing just tweaking something small. So all I did was move the vitamins from one place to another, and then the habit took a new life of itself. So that's where you have to, like Paul or I, we may not be able to, we can't tell you those little things in your life. You're going to have to become very self-aware of how, okay, I can't seem to take my vitamins, but what is something, look for something you're already doing really well. And as simple as I was thinking about the coffee every single night, and I was doing that really well. So move the vitamins by the coffee, and then I haven't had a problem since. So yeah, you just have to be you have to be creative of how to get your habits to stick. And that's one thing, and be willing to do things that don't make any sense. Like for someone else, that would make absolutely no sense. That would not help them take their vitamins, but maybe putting them in the bathroom because they had them in the kitchen would help them take their vitamins.
Yeah. I think, they say the sweet spot. I mean, there's loads of research on this, and I have done lots of research in the past on this, and they say the sweet spot is 66 days.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So, but there's also another thing that says about 2190. Now, what that basically is doing something every day for 21 days.
Right.
And then once you've not missed a day, because you mentioned that,
Right.
is then doing it for another 90 days. Okay. So, and then during that time, it will
Yeah.
take over. I can guarantee you that. But the habit is also, most of the habits have got to be things you enjoy doing.
Right.
There's a key there, right? Because I do one in the morning, and some of these took me. I hate to say it. Some of these took me nearly a year. Okay,
Right.
because that's just who I am. So my one was doing stretching first thing in the morning. Nothing major. Just like to stretch the 3 different parts of my legs, just as because you've been an ex-athlete, it just came natural. And that took me best part of a year. But I was struggling sometimes to do it, and I actually like doing it. So what I did, I combined. Who does the Happy song? Happy.
Pharrell.
Yeah,
Pharrell.
him.
Yeah.
Right. So I combined the two. So because I wanted to be happier anyway, so I thought, well, if I do my stretching, that'll make me happy because I'll be listening to that song first thing in the morning. Now it's stuck.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. I think also you mentioned about missing the day as well. I think something we'll do is put ourselves down when we miss a day. Don't ever do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at the positive and say, do you know what? I did 18 days on the trot, and I missed one day. So you should celebrate the 18 days. Bad news is you got to start again.
Right.
Because then if you do the next 21 days, you'd nearly had 39 days against one negative day.
Right.
40 days. So, that's what you want to look at. Look at the positive and don't watch the old monkey chatter. Don't put yourself down. So you do that because we all do it. We all do it. And I think it's very, very important that you don't go down that route because you'll put yourself off from doing something else.
Right.
Or even finishing that one. So
take on the idea that I get to. So just that simple change in your language. I get to get up and listen to the happy song and do my stretches. And then, like you said, you want to find things that you enjoy, but you may not. There's lots of things that we have to do that we really don't enjoy. But if you can't do that, then at least you need to find the value. What is the value? What value does this add to your life? So, there's definitely for me no enjoyment in swallowing big pills, that make me burp, that taste like fish, but it definitely adds value to my life because when I'm suffering from the really bad dry eye, I mean, if you haven't experienced it, it's kind of hard to explain, but it impacts my whole quality of life because I can't do the computer work. I basically have to lay on the couch closed with like a heating pad. So I find value in taking the vitamins because it adds value to my life. And sometimes even that doesn't work because we forget about that value and we fall back in those old habits. And then like you said, you just have to give yourself some grace and say, hey, but I was able to accomplish this for 18 days. So I know I can do it again, get back on the bike, get back on whatever the habit is and just, move forward again, one foot in front of the other. And just make it happen because it's there's a lot of science to habits, but also again, you have to discover that for yourself. You have to discover what really works for you. Yeah.
This is a fight. I joined a direct sales company in 2006. I didn't make my first money till 2008. Okay.
Yeah.
In that time, I practiced and became a professional. Once I'd done that, I then relaxed, chilled out about it, and made it fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And that's when I had my first 30,000 week.
Yeah. Awesome.
So it can be done. But you have to chill out about it. Don't be intense. That's the worst thing you can do is be intense. So let me ask you a question, Leanne.
Yes.
What habits have held you back in the past that you've changed? Can you think of one?
Yeah. So I used to love to sleep. I mean, way beyond the necessary amount. And so that habit of staying in bed, prevented me from, enjoying time with my kids, time with my family, time to work on projects. And then probably the other big one for me was the habit of negative thinking. And a lot of people don't really think of negative thinking as a habit, but it was definitely my go-to. And so I had to make a decision that I didn't want to have the habit of negative thinking. I wanted to have the habit of positive forward thinking, and working towards solutions and not always focusing on the problem. So probably those two things, the oversleeping and negative thinking.
Yeah, it's definitely something I changed. I mean, just look at it this way. You mentioned about negative things that we do or say. Get a glass of water, drop one little bit of ink into it, and it all discolors. And that is exactly what negative stuff does. It doesn't mean
Right.
it doesn't mean to say, is it Stuart Little and all that type of thing? I don't know. It's American, so I don't know. But we're not doing hairy fairy stuff here. We're not. What we're doing is just telling ourselves it's okay, it's all right. It doesn't matter that I drop that dish.
Right.
Now, it could be that your partner's really upset with you because it's part of a set. I'm sorry.
Right.
Be genuine, say sorry, and then go around the corner and laugh. But no, I'm joking. So right, we've done that. So my one would have been the running one, because I wanted to run a marathon, and I think I mentioned before the fact it took me. I went out my first run. Now, bear I was a soccer player, I couldn't run a mile. I used to be a runner, an athlete. And
right.
Because now I'm age 29 then, and I'm thinking, well, I want to run the marathon. So again, it took me 2 years to train for the marathon. If I want to take my time, I want it to be natural. So I always remember going on a 20-mile run and thought this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Now, of course, it's not easy.
Right.
But I've done so much practice by getting the habit of sticking to the game plan.
Right.
The game plan doesn't. Luckily, I did it. To be fair, I did it from day one. I must have done 99% of this game plan over 2 years. So I was proud of myself. I didn't care the day I missed it. It really didn't. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. What's the next question?
And
I've actually written them down so that I did. I got them extremely.
All right.
Well. So,
good job.
What bad habits have you actually replaced that really really brought you down when I mean, you're the type of person you are, Leanne, you probably didn't have any. But
right.
I sure you have to go and search, though.
No, and the people that know me well, know me for a long time, will totally understand this. But I had a bad habit of speaking before thinking. So that I would just run my mouth without any thought, because that was my habit. That was my defense mechanism. And so that has taken a lot of practice and a decision that I wanted to be more mindful of my language and things that I spew out to the world. And that habit was definitely not taking me to a pretty place in life. And so I've been working on that, I would say, for a good 20 years. And people that knew me 19 years ago could definitely, and maybe even some today. So a lot of my, what I would perceive as a negative habit are more on the internal versus the external.
Yeah.
Because I've always, and the other thing about you and I have talked about doing these lives for quite some time. And so when you're starting a new habit, it takes grit. Grit is a good trait to have, but also maybe takes you to be accountable to somebody else other than yourself. So if you have tried to start a new habit over and over and over and over again, and you're not succeeding, then bring in an accountability partner, bring in a friend, bring in a third party that you're kind of reporting into and checking into. That's going to be your cheerleader, but also the person that holds your feet to the fire, because that's a lot of us need that when we're creating habits, especially if they're brand new to us. If you've never been someone that eats healthy, if you've never been someone that exercises, and it's a brand spanking new habit for you, you're going to need to call in more reinforcement, versus if you're an athlete before and you've just gotten lazy over the last couple of years, that habit's still kind of laying underneath the surface. But if it's never been there, you got to call in reinforcement, and there's no shame in that. That's just how it is. Like if like I'm learning improv, that's a brand new like skill set and things that I want to learn and credits around. I can't do that on my own because it's nothing that I've ever experienced before. So, yeah, that was a long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, but think of it this way, and you'll hear me mention this quite a lot. Everybody needs a coach. Even Tony Robbins has a coach.
Yeah.
Okay? If he needs a coach, then we all need a coach. As simple as that. All the people I know have a coach, or at least people they mastermind with, so they can run things by them and make sure that they're doing better and improving. I mean, it's all about tweaking. We're all the same. I mean, look, I've got notes. You think I can get through this without notes? You're joking. Anyway, so the question you need to ask yourself is, are my habits taking me nearer to the place I want to be, or are they taking me further away? Okay. And the classic one, as you mentioned, is sleep. And you've got Mel Robbins, who does a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It works. I've tried it.
Right.
Now when the alarm goes, I don't jump out of bed, because at my age I might kill myself. So, but I am wide awake, and I then immediately go in to do gratitude and a meditation. Okay.
Right.
Straight away. And by that time I'm fully awake. So I then make myself a cup of tea, and I get into work. I can get into work within 5-7 minutes, straight in, because I know what I've got to do.
Yep.
That's a habit. So
yeah, it is.
Now, if you're struggling with the idea of forming new habit, I've got 5 things for you.
I love 5 things. We love 5 things.
A 5-point fast start. Okay. Now, one of the things you can do, and this is a great habit, that there, if you can read it, it doesn't really matter what it is. Oh, sorry. It says executive. Now, that's just a level in my business I'm going for. But what I'm saying is, you need the habit is, or the action is, to write the card out, or one or many cards. Doesn't matter. If you need lots of cards, stick them everywhere. But the habit is reading it half a dozen times a day.
Right.
Trust me. All I'll say is it works, because every time I've done it, I've hit the goal. Every time. All right. Yep. That's a side issue. Anyway, and it's never too late to break a habit. Okay, that's the other thing as well. So, okay, so here's number 1. Clear off your mental desk. Okay. This is before you start the habit. You've got to get, and this comes from Eben Pagan. I bought a couple of 2, 3 or 4 of his courses. But clear off your mental desk. It's a powerful exercise. Now, you can do this when you're not on the call, but get a bit of paper and write down all the things that you really need to do. And one of them is clearing everything up, and that's mental as well as physical. It could be emotionally and spiritual, but that's up to you. But what I'm saying is, clear the decks. If you're a person who's untidy, you don't look in there. I haven't tidied up yet, or made the bed or anything. But I mean, if you function better with an absolutely spotless, tidy room, then do it. Before you start thinking about habits, you need to clear the decks, and then you can concentrate on the habit. Okay, that's number 1. All right. Now, number 2, you can make lists of all these anyway. So, number 2, completing any loose ends. How many times have you procrastinated and put things off? We all do it. You're not alone. All right. But some things are a little bit more important. You went, I'll do that tomorrow. Okay. No. because this is one of the biggest energy robbers. You need
Yes.
to make a list of all the things that need completing. Okay. Let's say there's 10 things. Now, 7 of them, yeah, okay, you need to do them maybe. But the other 3 are really, really important. So wave goodbye to the other 7. They don't, unless it,
Right.
when you would, when you're writing them down, whether you need to do them or not, and work on the 3, get them done that day. Get them out of the way, clear everything out of the way, move on. All right,
Yep.
so completing loose ends. The third thing is getting out of the grey zone. All right, this is very important. Now, what is the grey zone? Well, I'll split it up like this. You have I know there's other lives as well, but there's your work life and your family, your relationship. Okay. What a lot of people do, and I've done it, is a lot, is that when you're playing with the kids, you're thinking about work. When you're out for dinner with your better half, you're thinking about work, right? And also, when you're at work, you're thinking about your family.
Right.
Okay, as you do. I mean, that's a little bit all right. Okay, but what I'm saying is, compartmentalize. Now, I know ladies, they're the ones that get everything done, aren't they? They have all this stuff to do. We know their minds are like that, but in the end, they get it right. We got nothing to think about, have we? Really, fellas? We haven't. What time's the ball game? What time's the football match? What time have I got to meet friends down the pub? I mean, these are important questions, okay? But yeah, so the grey stuff is where it merges into other things. So if you're working, all right, if you're writing a novel, this is where time blocking comes in. If you're going to spend an hour working on your book that you're writing, go away and spend an hour. When the end of the hour comes, lock it away and go and play with the kids for an hour. You see where I'm coming from? Okay.
Yep.
Number 3. Okay. Number 4, eliminating the big energy robbers. All right. So you can self-diagnose this. You can find out all the little things that are robbing you. It could be something to do with nutrition. It could be that you don't drink enough. It could be you don't sleep enough. You could go on and on. But what's robbing you of energy. Sort it out. And this is where the habits can start coming in now. You can, but only work on one habit at a time. That's the other thing. One habit. So if the habit is drinking, go and get yourself some of these. Okay.
Drinking water, right?
Yeah, it's a cordial. It's like a summer fruits cordial. But yeah. And then put it in front of you. Fill it up first thing in the morning. Put it in front of you, and you've got to drink it, and you will. That's a habit. Okay. I'm not going to say any more about that. But there's lots of things that stop you. Make a plan. Eliminate the bad, and and stop the energy leaks. And number 5 is called, and I like this one, and it's quite good. I'm going to put it up there so I can read it. Habit gravity and escape velocity. What does that mean? Well, if you take it, let's take it 30 days. It's split into 3 lots of 10 days. So 1 to 10, days 1 to 10 is your first phase. Okay. And you don't want to do it most of the time, do you? Really?
Right.
But
Right.
you start off and it's okay. I'll stick with it. It's a bit tough. I keep forgetting, but I've managed to do it for 10 days. So then you go move on to the second phase, which is you're then getting a little bit used to it. I think it's very, very important. You're no longer defiant. You're moving.
Right.
You're doing it a little bit better. Okay, but it's still not there yet. And then you move on to the last, bit, as it were. And so I got my notes here. I just want to make sure I get the gist of it over right. And it's acclimatation. Okay, you're now cracking the code. You're now doing it more than missing it. Okay.
Right.
And between 30 days and 66 days is where you polish it off. Okay. But that's basically what it is. You're going up, and you get to the curve, the top of the curve, and now once you get past day 20, 21, you're starting to come down the slope. All right.
Yeah.
So it's just the work is done in the first 20 days, and the rest is.
I call that making friends with your habits. So just an easier way to say it. A lot of people don't really like to exercise, but you don't want to be saying that all the way through the rest of your life. I hate to exercise. I hate, because then you're just always combating that new habit. So just embrace it. Embrace it as a friend. And I look so forward to my new habit of exercise. And you're playing games with your mind, but you're convincing yourself, because it's, the Paul's definition was great. I like to keep it simple. Just make friends with your habits, and that gives them energy. And then the next habit that you're embracing becomes easier, because you've got that momentum. Like Paul said, start with one. You have the momentum from one, and you've embraced it as your friend instead of your enemy. And then you move forward in life, and then your life becomes a lot easier to manage, because things are working for you versus things working against you. I mean, we have enough things working against us that we have no control over, but we can control our habits. So we might as well get as much momentum from ourselves that we possibly can, because the outside world is going to continue to, spin around and do its thing, Yeah.
You got to learn, sometimes you got to learn to walk away from things.
Yes. And
yeah, in the police, you had to walk away from a lot as well. So,
yeah.
Otherwise,
and
you don't have a job anymore.
Right. The one final thing that when you were talking about energy suckers, that I want to add to this conversation is from my experience as being a coach for all these years, the big thing that I see as an energy drain is people saying yes to too much.
Yeah.
Yes to the wrong things and no to the wrong things. So if you're a yes person, people pleaser, you really want to identify that to see if that's getting in the way of creating the habits that you want for yourself. So that's a whole nother topic we could spend. We'll do that on a separate live. But I wanted to throw that in there because I think it's important for people to realize that could be getting in their way.
Well, I'm glad to say the bleeding has stopped. My head is not bleeding anymore. Just for those coming in a little bit later, I cut myself shaving, and it was pouring down. As you can see, like I've still got all the. These are the best tissues, but the other one's red. Okay. Anyway, so that's it. That's our show today. You've given your last thoughts, Leanne, I believe. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yes.
All that's left to really say is two things. Please give it the love. Okay. If you found this useful, like the page, like this actual video itself, comment and share it as well if you can. And we're back next week at 4 o'clock London time next Friday and 10 a.m. Wichita, Kansas time. Yes? Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So yes. And also I'm back Wednesday with Warren, and we're doing, I don't know what we're doing yet. we haven't spoken about it, but it's the reason that I'm getting practicing.
And I'm officially launching my Go Big with Leanne show next week. I'll do a little intro later on today, probably. I, of course, had computer issues, so life always likes to throw that curveball to see how committed you are. So Paul and I are both going to have other shows going on. Go Big with Leanne. Empowerment through connection. Well, I need to figure out the computer issue, but my first guest that I'm interviewing is next Tuesday, May 5th, I think. But I will do a little intro before then. So I'll let you. I'll post the details as soon as I have them.
If it's done in my time zone, I'm all right. But I'll watch it in replay if it's not. So
you'll probably have to catch the replay because it's going to be at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is in the middle of the morning.
Yeah, that's 2 a.m. in the morning for me. And I sleep very well.
Yeah.
I won't be there.
Right. So
good luck.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you all being here today. If you have any ideas for things that you want us to discuss, just send them our way.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, we're switching off now. So I wish you all the success you're working towards, whatever that is, whether it's in business or sport or, I know it's a bit difficult at the moment, but you still got to keep it up here. All right. So anyway, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.